Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from Challenge Daytona and the PTO 2020 Championship. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Captiva Spine, John Hall Chevrolet, USA Triathlon, Foundation Risk Partners, and the PTO, the Pro Triathletes Organization. Our next guest in 2012, she became the first woman to win Ironman 70.3 World Championship and the Ironman World Championship in the same year. Leanda Cave joins us. Hi, Leanda.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. 2012, I think that's both of our favorite years.
I know. Too bad it's so long ago now.
What I like about that year is you had Siri Lindley had been Miranda's coach, and then she became your coach for 2012. And so talk a little bit about that. I mean, so were you both coached by Siri in 2011?
Okay, this isn't a fun fact. No.
Okay.
Actually, Miranda left Siri that year.
After 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd actually joined Siri like a couple of years earlier. They just had a point in their relationship,
right,
where they needed to like part. And,
sure, that happens.
It does. And then, that was I had the full support of Siri, which honestly, like, she's kind of pulled in so many directions, and still is. But that was one of the interesting things when I was racing. It was like she had to like juggle so many race horses on race day. I mean, she had like 7 or 8 athletes racing on race day, and she had to be in so many different places. And that year was unique because I was probably one of like 3 or 4 athletes racing, and so it was different. And not having Miranda as one of them, it's kind of like the whole dynamic of that relationship between Siri and Miranda. She was there to support me, not Miranda. So that year was interesting.
What was it about that you caught magic in a bottle, right? You win both 70.3 and World Ironman the same year. When you look back on it, what was different? Or was there anything different? Do you think it was just a accumulation of all the training and all the racing just paid off that year?
It was an interesting year. I'd come out of a very long-term relationship, and I was free as a bird and just managed to just enjoy the sport, enjoy the training, have a lot of time to train and do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And I think, that's also the beauty of the sport when you don't have any other things tying you down or distractions, right? Like, then I just had nothing. I was just training. And it's funny how much training you can do when you don't have anything else going on. And I was also enjoying it. I was in Colorado for the first time, in Boulder, and this new environment, and I was actually just happy to, be in the mountains and just experience that whole part of training too, being in a new place. So there was a lot of things, but I would say like it was just me enjoying the sport for the first time in a very long time.
And what was great about that day, Rennie had won the Ironman in 2010 and then had finished second to Chrissy in 2011 and everything. Okay, Chrissy retires. Well, Rennie's going to win in 2012. Yeah. And there was a point where Caroline Steffen is leading and you're in second, and here comes Rennie running through the field and going in the energy lab. We're thinking, coming out of the energy lab, it's going to be Rennie. We'll have caught Leanda, and then she'll go get she'll go get Caroline and go get her another title. But there was something standing in her way, and that was you. Yeah,
but I thought, my head was where your head was at on race day. I'm just waiting for her to come and catch me, and she actually got close at one point. I didn't even realize it, and I still thought she was catching me when we were in the energy lab. So at that point, I was like, okay, if I catch Caroline, Miranda's going to catch me. Second place is still really great. But it never happened. I caught Caroline and Miranda was nowhere. And when I was finally in first place, I really just thought, my gosh, this is it. And I put my head down. It's funny how much more energy you can have when you start to win a race. And that last few miles, it was I was just still running for my life to the finish line because I didn't know where Miranda was. I had no idea.
And that's a tough race from that perspective. The numbers people are throwing. You got 5 minutes, especially when you're leading. Yeah. It's one thing when you're in second, you get all sorts of weird numbers anyways. But when you're leading, no one knows.
No, and it's not like, we're here at Daytona. It's not like when you're racing in NASCAR, you've got like a radio in your ear and you can hear where everybody is and what everybody's doing. Like in triathlon, you don't have a clue. And you do at some point, especially the pros, we have like an idea from like a leaderboard on the bike. But even like the crowds, like I can't hear what people say. I'm like in this like zone, I'm in tunnel vision, and I don't hear or see anybody. And so, for me, it was just like, hey, you're in your own little bubble and you're just going for your life.
Winning that race, I mean, when you finally realize, come down the lead drive, okay, she's not catching me now. I've got this race. How did that change your life, or did it?
I didn't know until I crossed that line that I was going to be winning. Like it really, I mean, I swear I was like full gas all the way to the finish line.
Yeah.
How did it feel? I mean, it's still so hard to describe. I mean, it's like you've been trying. I was trying for so long. Yeah. I think it took me 7 years to win that race, and I always had in the back of my mind that I would. Just didn't think it was going to take 7 years, and it was kind of almost like relief,
Yes.
And then like I can't swear on this, but there was definitely like some elated swear words going through my head as well, like. A lot of disbelief, and it took a while to sink in.
Yeah,
it really did, and yeah, it was definitely still to this day one of the most proudest moments of my own career as an athlete.
Absolutely. So when you look back on your career, is there another race? Obviously, that one is pretty damn special. But is there another race that maybe told you that you could be really good at this sport? It maybe gave you an inclination that. Maybe change your perception of yourself in terms of the sport?
Yeah, I came up through the ranks very fast when I was young, and I started triathlon. I was still, crossing over between swimming and surf lifesaving. This is when I was in Australia, and, I did a race. I wasn't even a professional at this point. I did a race in Canberra against like the Australian. I was on the junior elite team at the time, and we actually raced all the pros, and there was a whole bunch of pros I beat, and I came second overall. It was bittersweet because, again, I wasn't a pro, so I couldn't get prize money. And this is like, a kid who's scraping together just, to put food on the table, and I come second in this pro race, and I don't get paid like $5,000, which second place was. I just went home with nothing.
Oh my God.
But that was probably the pinnacle, or like the turning point where I was like, I could actually be really good at this sport.
When you come here and see ITU athletes, 70.3 athletes, Ironman athletes, all under, one umbrella going at it for $1.15 million, it has to make you feel like, okay, I think our sport's okay.
Yeah, it's still not okay, I'm going to be honest. There's still a lot of room for improvement. It's just great to see that the PTO is looking after the athletes' welfare, and there's a change and it's happening, and that makes me very happy to see. It's obviously something I wished I'd had when I was still racing, but at the same time, like I still get to benefit from the sport, from my career and the achievements I had through my career, even afterwards. But today I'm really happy for the athletes. I'm really happy to see that this sport has someone, an organization looking after them that has their better interest at heart. It's just the thing with athletes and being an athlete, especially in triathlon, you're very disposable, and no one's really like looking after you. I mean, all the people behind the scenes have full-time jobs in the sport, and the only people who don't are actually the athletes themselves, right?
Great point.
If like one of the race organizers gets sick or injured, they come back to work the next week. An athlete can be out for 6 to 8 months or even longer. And
the prize money is where you make your living.
Exactly. So, this is where the change is happening, and I think that's really, really great to see. And, we're, I think, finally taking a step in the right direction.
So what are you up to now as a retired professional athlete?
Gosh, I feel too young to say that I'm retired from anything. And by the way, I still work out a ton. I still got to fit in my jeans, But what am I doing? I coach. That's my number one. I have to say job right now is I've really enjoyed being an athlete. I learned so much being an athlete, and I feel like I had 18 years racing professionally, and I have a lot to to give and to teach athletes.
Yes.
So that's where I felt like it was a natural fit for me after retirement. And I do love seeing my athletes improve and get better. And, you know, not just that, some athletes come to me with just wanting to finish a race, you know.
Right.
So I love that. That's one of the things I'm doing. I'm also working with a company that's going to launch here. So stay tuned for that.
Double secret. Up here, they're going to launch your Challenge Daytona.
A little hint here.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
And then I'm also working on a product. Again, I can't say much about that because we are in formulation, but a nutrition product that I'm working on with actually Lisa Roberts, who's racing here.
Very cool.
So just a few things going on, and that's
staying busy.
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah. Life's like too short, so I've got to keep going.
I don't think it's too late for you to sign up and go race these guys.
You know, I honestly feel like sometimes I'm fit enough, but I haven't, and I say this all the time, I just don't want to hurt myself anymore.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you know when everyone's like, you do a race, this is when I was racing, they're like, oh, go out and have fun. I'm like, this isn't fun. It's painful. It hurts.
It's a hard way to make a living.
Yeah, and now I'm like, now it's fun because I don't have to go hard and I can enjoy it, and I look around, I'm like, oh, it's so
Smell
pretty.
the roses.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leanda, for taking time.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Thanks, yes, nice to see you again.
Leanda Cave has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob, Challenge Daytona PTO 2020 Championship. Hold on, everybody. We will be right back.